Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the chart of Donald Trump, mainly because I see so much about to transpire over the course of this year of 2020. And his chart is a major determinant of what is going to be happening in the United States. When you pull up the chart of a leader of a nation, it will reflect what's going on for that nation, as well as for them personally. So, pulling up the chart of Donald Trump, I have to say, this is an incredible chart for astrological study. It has so many interesting things that really do tell so many things about a personality and an individual. So we have analyzed his chart many times, and looking at it, going to the ascendant, one of the things that I used to point out so many times in the past is the fact that his ascendant is in Leo, and the degree rising on his ascendant is 6 degrees of Leo, which is conjunct the fixed star Regulus. Regulus is the star that is the heart of the lion in Leo. So his ascendant's not only in Leo, but that degree marking is exactly conjunct that fixed star. What is that star all about? Leadership, kingship, the ruler, and he has become the President of the United States. Now, so much controversy, of course, is in his life and in his rulership, because when you look at his chart, he was born under what? A lunar eclipse. The sun and the moon are in opposition, they're full. And when you have a full moon conjunct Rahu and Ketu, you get a lunar eclipse. So the sun being in Taurus, remember I'm talking about the sidereal Vedic chart, not the tropical Western chart. So his sun is actually in Taurus, not in Gemini. And it is conjunct Rahu, which is intense and extreme. But it's conjunct Uranus, which makes him so unpredictable. Uranus is change and unpredictable behavior with the sun Rahu. The sun is the spirit, it's the soul, it's the personality. And here is this person that is so subject to change from day to day. And on top of that, it's in the 10th house. To have the sun Rahu in the 10th house denotes someone that will be in a position of power, of somebody who is in power. That is the sun, but Rahu makes it extreme and off the top. But then oppose the sun, you have the moon. So he was born under a full moon. His moon is in Scorpio with Ketu. That's intense. So the moon being in Scorpio, it's actually its debilitation sign in Vedic astrology. But I find that people with the moon in Scorpio are very, very passionate about what they believe. They're very devoted, but at times it can be off the charts. So here we have a personality that is completely unpredictable, emotionally off the charts, and he's President of the United States. So you gotta see that these are what the astrology of his chart are telling us. Now, Mars, which is actually a powerful planet for Leo ascendant, is in his first house. And it's what gives him his drive, his ambition, his courage. And it's in Leo. But let me just say, Mars is what gives him his drive and his energy, his courage. Because let me just say this, I don't know how anyone can be president where every single day you're on. You have to face the public and you have to have energy that never ends. who has that kind of energy at his age? But this is the Mars. So Mars being there actually aspects the moon by its fourth aspect, its square. So this is what intensifies him emotionally, makes him emotionally charged. And then when we go to his Jupiter, he's got Jupiter right there in the second house of finances and money. He's a billionaire. So, and he made his money basically through real estate. And Mars is the indicator of real estate. But Jupiter being in the second house reveals that he is very wealthy. But if you also look at the fact that Jupiter cast its trine to the Sun and Rahu in the 10th house, this is a very strong indication of success. And the time of 2016 when he was elected, remember that transiting Jupiter was conjunct his natal Jupiter, and it aspected the Sun Rahu in the 10th house, representing his win. And additionally, on top of that, he just entered into his Jupiter Mahadasha. So it was very evident that this was meant to be and what was going to happen. So where do we see it going from here? Where are the transiting planets, and what about his dashas today? Well, the reason why I was thinking about doing this talk is the fact that where transiting Mars is today as I'm speaking. Transiting Mars is in Scorpio, and it is going to cross over his moon very soon, right before, well, right at the beginning of February, because Mars will still be in Scorpio. Mars will shift into Sagittarius on February 7th. Therefore, transiting Mars will be close to his natal moon around early February. Okay, so it will conjunct his moon and oppose his sun. Mars is a great planet for his chart, in his birth chart, but it is still the indicator of what? War, conflict, anger, attacks. And as transiting Mars crosses over President Trump's moon in the fourth house, the fourth house is home, the homeland. So I'm seeing where Mars crossing over moon can be something serious about the homeland. And that could be indicative of the United States. The moon does rule his 12th house, which means secret enemies. And it's in the fourth house of his home. And that can represent the nation, the United States of America. And transiting Mars on that moon, and aspecting the sun, which rules the chart, rules the first house. This is danger. Mars hitting the sun by opposition and hitting the moon, representative of the homeland in the fourth house, but it rules the 12th house, could be secret agendas and enemies. Now, as we have Mars go into the 7th house with K2 and Jupiter, we know that it's going to be aspecting the ascendant for the United States of America, which is at 8 degrees of Sagittarius. So Mars K2 crossing over that, plus Mars will oppose Donald Trump, President Trump's Mercury, which is in the 11th house, which does rule the 11th house and the second house of his chart. So as Mars opposes his Mercury, this is another indication of something very difficult happening for the United States, because if you will look And let me put up the chart of the United States here. If you will look at the United States chart, Jupiter is at 15 degrees of Gemini. That is exactly where Donald Trump's Mercury resides. And that was another reason why I believe that Donald Trump, because his chart aligned with the United States chart, would be elected, because his Mercury resides where Jupiter is in the United States chart, as well as if you look at Donald Trump's Jupiter, it's right where Saturn is in the United States chart at 24 degrees of Virgo. So his chart aligns with the United States chart. That's usually an indication that there's some kind of karma or destiny between the individual and the country. So Mars aligning with not only Mercury, when you go to the United States chart, it happens to be Jupiter in the 7th house of opponents, and Jupiter in the United States chart rules the ascendant and the 4th house of the homeland. So it's indicated in his chart as well as the United States chart that there could be some attack on the homeland in the United States. Furthermore, we know that now Saturn has transited into Capricorn, and Pluto will be exchanging with Saturn and Jupiter throughout the coming year, which can be devastation. So when I look to where Saturn is about to transit, he has got Saturn right now is opposing his natal Saturn, which is not easy. And on top of that, it will be opposing his Venus. Now, Venus rules the 10th house of his work and his career. This is going to really be challenging for him, because if you'll notice, Saturn's in the 6th house of enemies, and it's opposing Saturn in the 12th house of secret enemies. And these enemies for him may even be in the government. Why? Because that's what Saturn is. And as Saturn opposes his Venus, I think that Donald Trump is being attacked at all angles, whether it is foreign countries or within the country. This is a very difficult time frame. Even when Mars does transit into Capricorn, which it will in March, around March 22nd through April, it will be aligning with Saturn in Capricorn in his 6th house of enemies, aspecting his Saturn Venus, and Venus rulership of the 10th house represents the job, the career, his presidency. And this is going to be a real struggle. But I think it's deeper than that. I really do think it has something to do with foreign attacks, because that's what the 12th house is. And Mars and Saturn, when they're both together in Capricorn in March and April, it's going to be aspecting those planets in his 12th house, foreign countries. So looking at where Rahu and Ketu are situated and where they're headed in the months of September, Rahu and Ketu will shift signs into Taurus and Scorpio. Rahu will go into Taurus, Ketu will go into Scorpio. And around the time of September things will change drastically. I believe the economy is going to shift because everything's shifting and changing at this time. And by the time of the elections, we're going to have transiting Rahu in his 10th house, but transiting Ketu. He has a nodal return, but the eclipses will begin in the following year to be happening in his 10th house and his 4th house. Now, generally, when Rahu crosses over the sun, and it is in his 10th house, it can be the position of leadership. So, but the events that occur prior to that are very, very difficult. So it looks like there's something of a loss, but something of a gain. And this takes place in November. And in November, when we look at the fact that transiting Mars will shift from retrograde to direct, and it will be in his 8th house, we're looking at some major crises in the United States. It looks like profuse protest, conflict, fights. I don't know if it's like a civil war going on around election time. We will not know who the president is. You'll see. But Mars stationing in his 8th house and in the 4th house of the United States, it is squaring all of those planets in Gemini. That's around November. We are looking at a year from this point forward of incredible explosive events and conflict in the United States. So we, as people that care about humanity, not just politics, humanity, have got to change the way we act, feel, and think and believe, because it's not about politics anymore. It's about humanity. And the world has got to wake up, or there is going to be a divine force that wakes us up. So what I think is due to happen is an event that forces people to unite again, because everyone has become so separate, so polarized, and full of anger. And this anger cannot be. It's not for a good purpose or a cause or a reason. We have to come together. And many people say, oh, well, this president's caused all of this polarity and polarizing effects. But you know what I say? It's the transits, it's the cycles, it's the planets, but these are the circumstances that have unveiled. And always, I have said this, and it is a fact, whoever is in leadership positions, they are a result and a reflection of the people. So as we change, so will that reflection in who is our leader and the events surrounding it. So you cannot cast blame on any political leader around the world, but you have to just realize that we have to change, and we will. And I know that what will come of this will be a better world, even though we are facing some pretty extreme events that will change the world forever. And I just want to say this. We're going to see things this year that we've never seen before. I have never seen so many astrological signatures for transformation, change, and destruction all lined up here. So something is due to change, and we have to change ourselves consequently in order to create a better world. Not blaming presidential candidates or who's the leader. It's the mass consciousness. So please do not be part of the mass anger and negative consciousness that is brewing right now. Get outside of yourself, outside of the mass conscious projection, and don't add to that energy. And things can change for the better, and they will. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, you can always go on my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Or if you would like to learn Vedic astrology, go to my university website, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. Or if you would like my free newsletter delivered to your email, sign up for my free newsletter on galacticcenter.org. Thank you.